What's up, Prizefight fans? I'm Brian Tong, and tablets are here to stay, so we're bringing on a battle between two of the big boys. It's a Prizefight punch-out between Apple's 4th generation iPad and Google's Nexus 10. Our judges for this fight are senior editor Donald Taco Bell, senior editor Eric the Tank Man Franklin, and myself, Ding Dong Tong. Now we'll take all three judges' blind scores and average them out to the nearest tenth of a point. The final Prizefight score will be an average of all rounds using the same system. Let's get ready to rumble. Round 1 is design. Apple's iPad 4th generation is still the benchmark for design for a premium tablet, even if it's a little heavier. Its all-metal body is sleek and sturdy. It brings a 9.7-inch screen with Apple's Retina display that's a slightly lower resolution with 264 pixels per inch, and the only difference physically is the smaller Lightning port on the bottom. Now, Google's Nexus 10 brings a 10-inch widescreen tablet design with a higher 299 pixels per inch that's slightly lighter in weight with a great design as well. This is a sturdy tablet, but it definitely has a more plasticky feel with its sticky faux leather finish on the backside that we're not all fans of. But this guy will be able to take more of a beating. The iPad takes this round with a 4.7, and the Nexus 10 gets a 4. Next round is user interface and controls. The iPad brings iOS 6, and it's the easiest pick-up-and-play interface on planet Earth. It's snappy and intuitive. The home button has multiple functions to access current apps and a few basic settings. We get that Apple wants to keep it simple, but they could still give us a little more than just a notifications bar after all this time. Now, the Nexus 10 brings Android's Jelly Bean, and it's a clean OS that is fully realized, while bringing Android's staple customization with widgets that are resizable and a dock for your apps that also lets you drag icons on top of each other to create folders. Notifications are still also a staple here when you swipe from the center, but swiping from the top right now brings you quick access to your key settings. Now, I think Jelly Bean can more than hang with iOS, but not everyone here agrees. The iPad takes this round with a 4.3, and the Nexus 10 gets a 3.7. So after averaging 2 rounds, the 4th gen iPad leads. Next round is features. The Nexus 10 comes with 16 or 32 gigs of storage and a dual-core processor. It also brings support for HDMI out and micro USB directly on the device. It brings Jelly Bean's Google Now, which delivers relevant information like weather, public transit, and nearby businesses. Google's voice search and commands are still unmatched by any mobile OS, plus its maps are more reliable, including Google Street View and public transit options. Its Google Play Store is not on the same level when it comes to apps, but it's still a legitimate enough offering. Plus, gesture typing to trace over your words instead of typing them, and multiple user accounts on one tablet is big. Now, the iPad comes in 16, 32, and 64 gig flavors and brings the speed with the new A6X processor that doubles the graphics and CPU performance of the previous iPad. Siri has a pretty interface, but it's still just not as accurate, and its response time lags significantly behind Google's. Apple Maps with turn-by-turn directions might work out for some of you, but in my uses, it's not even close, and it still has a long ways to go. AirPlay works best in the Apple ecosystem to play your content on an Apple TV, and Lightning is both a blessing and a curse. Charging is significantly faster, but it also makes some of your previous accessories obsolete. But where the iPad shines is its robust library of apps and the iTunes ecosystem that really makes the tablet more than just the hardware. It's really its greatest asset here. And yeah, I'm an apps man. Both tablets have their positives and negatives. There's no memory expansion on either device, but the Nexus 10 just gets an edge with the 4.3, and the iPad gets a 4. Next round is web browsing and multimedia. Google's Nexus 10 brings excellent web browsing even without Flash support, with its Chrome browser that brings features like an incognito mode for private browsing. The iPad brings Safari, which is just as solid of a browser. Its snappy pinch and zoom also features cloud syncing of bookmarks on other iOS devices and a clean reader mode. Video quality looks great on both devices, and the Nexus 10's widescreen allows you to showcase more of the content. I might give the iPad a slight edge with its color representation and black levels, even with the slightly higher resolution on the Nexus 10, but really, it's a coin toss here. Both tablets have front-facing and 5-megapixel rear cameras that shoot 1080p video. We'd give Apple's iPad just an edge when it comes to image quality from taking pictures and videos, but I would just recommend that you don't become part of that small but growing group of people that take pictures with their tablet. These are two of the best tablets for multimedia, and the iPad just gets an edge with a 4.7, and the Nexus 10 gets a 4.3. So after averaging 4 rounds, Apple still leads, but the Nexus 10 has closed the gap. Round 5 is performance. The Nexus 10 is one of the fastest Android tablets we've seen, but occasionally some apps take longer to load than they really should. Now, in our video playback battery drain test, the 4th Gen iPad gave us a whopping 14 hours of juice compared to the Nexus 10's 8.5 hours of battery life, and that's a huge difference. Combine that fact with the iPad's processor boost and snappy UI, and it's a hard combination to beat. The iPad gets a perfect 5, and the Nexus 10 gets a 4. After 5 rounds, Apple still leads. The final round that decides it all is value. The Nexus 10's 16 gig model starts at $399, and the 32 gig model is $499. The 4th Gen iPad 16 gig model starts at $499. Now, it depends on what's important to you, but the iPad is really worth its price with its extensive app support and streaming performance right now. Plus, it's a device that will hold its value over time when you're ready to resell it. The iPad takes this round with a 4.7, and the Nexus gets a 4. So let's average out all 6 rounds, and in a battle where the iPad jumped out on top early, it never let go, and the 4th generation iPad takes this battle 4.6 to 4.1 and is your prize fight winner. The Nexus 10 is no chump and is still one of the best tablets on the market, but on this day, it's the iPad who reigns supreme. I'm Brian Tong, thanks for watching, and we'll catch you guys next week for another prize fight.